Hey YouTube, Mentored One here with the next installment of the Darwin Pond evolution simulation experiment. On the previous one we had green and blue seahorse type creatures that had dominated the pond. As you can see here, the lemon lime seahorses have almost completely taken them over. There's still some stragglers of the blues left, but they really ran out the food and everything and took it over. The food's down to 29 out of almost 1,000 pieces of food. We're over 1,000,000 ticks right now. This is one of the longest running experiments I've ever had, since I haven't tweaked anything in the ecology right here, which is like the food growth and the energy, hunger, and lifespan and all that. Since I haven't tweaked any of that, it's been a stable ecosystem, so the genetic structure of these creatures is probably pretty stable at this point. It's just a matter of color variation and small mutations that maybe give them a little bit of an advantage in speed or mobility. So these lemon lime ones are pretty dominant now. And since the seahorse breed is pretty much won out, we're going to introduce a invasive species in this episode and see what happens. I'm going to save one of these lemon lime seahorses. So we'll take this guy and we'll save him. Alright, so we saved a copy of that guy. There's some weird colors here. You can see the yellow, green, and blue. So these have a color advantage in that they can mate with yellow, green, or blue creatures. So it looks like, with the exception of a few rare color variations, the lemon lime ones have won. Food is pretty scarce at this point, so they're pretty ravenous. Alright, so we're going to go to options and freeze the simulation. And we're going to load up one of the previous creatures that evolved in a long-running experiment. They call it the worm, the evolved worm, or the worm Evo. And we're gonna we'll put him over here where the last remaining food is. Now this species, from experiments, probably 80 to 90% of the time wiped out everything else in the pond. Very aggressive, very fast, and they move like an eel or a snake. And these, before I put these in, I want to show you the locomotion on the seahorses so you can maybe see the difference here. Now see, yeah, there's definitely a seahorse type of movement going on with these creatures. Alright. As you can watch them move for a minute. They don't turn very well. That's going to be, I think that's what's, I'm predicting that the Evo worm, this sea snake type of creature, is going to just decimate these guys. And I'll show you them when I put them in. Yeah, we'll put them in the corner over here. I'm going to go to the genetic, which is the syringe here. And we're going to make them red. Make them like a bloodworm. Alright, so there's the worm Evo. We're going to clone him. So there's a pair of them. And that's all we're going to put in there is a pair of these guys. And watch these things as they move. They're very fluid. See, they whip themselves around on a dime like that. I mean, you can see the turn on that thing. It's astounding. But it's the motion, that's the wave type of sine motion, that is just absolutely amazing. And see, there's one direction where they don't turn as rapidly, but there's another one where they whip themselves right around like that. Complete 180. And you can see when one is hatched, they grow slowly like that. And that's when their genes are formed. I mean, you can see the motion, it's just very fluid. And you can see how fast they turn on a dime like that, it's just crazy. And they just gave birth to twins. So this is the introduction of the invasive species called the worm Evo. Also, when I change them to red, we can call them the red worms. They're like a sea snake type of serpentine movement. And the lemon lime ones have moved right in too, so this is going to be a nice battle royal right here to see how the seahorse breed holds up to the sea snake, the worm. They're already fighting over here for the last remaining food, and there's a good chance they may interbreed. You know, if I don't, it'd be interesting to see how the genetics hold up with whether or not the offspring turns red or multicolored. Wow, it's chaos going on in here. You can see by the red dots on the tip, that's like their favored color. They're going after each other. And that solid color becomes, they predominantly look for red. Those seahorses are pretty quick though, they're pretty solid. So we'll see how they hold up here. But you can see a lot of these hatchlings that are coming out are all red. And you can see the worm, the evolved worm here is just, they swarm together. That was one of the characteristics in the other maps, is there'll always be a pack of them like this that are moving together. And they do spread out otherwise, so they're going to get a foothold almost everywhere on this pond here. So we're going to, we introduced the invasive species of this red worm. We're going to let it, these were from a previous experiment that I had let run over 1 million time ticks like this one, and they had evolved out of that, and every time I put them in a new experiment, they always wipe out the existing population. I've been doing it to see two things. One, if they can absorb any new genetic traits from something that's evolved also, like maybe they'll pick up something from the seahorses that will make them better. And I've also tried them against different creatures to see if they can destroy anything. They've been overtaken a couple of times, but I've also done a lot of tweaking to the ecology with food supply and you know, energy and lifespan and stuff like that. So they've been involved in a lot of different types of experiments. This is the first time I've run a long-term stable ecosystem and introduced them into that. So I'm not going to mess with any ecology. This experiment's going to continue to keep the stable environment, and we'll see what happens here. We're going to let this run for a while longer. I have a few other species that we can introduce later, but we'll see what happens. It looks like these red worms are already they've already become the dominant species in less than 100,000 ticks, it looks like to me. That's a little frightening. I don't think there's much that can stop these things, but we'll let it play out, and we'll come back and check. And I have other species that may pose a challenge for whatever comes about out of this mess. The food is down to 30 food pieces right now, with these red worms just consuming it, and we may see a massive population crash at some point. Alright, so thanks for watching YouTube. This is Darwin Pond, an artificial evolution simulation software. Been running a long-term experiment with it, and you can check the previous videos, specifically the first one in the series, for a link to this software. And the first video also introduces all of the tools and everything like that. So thank you for watching, and check back and we'll see what comes about from the invasive species here. Alright, peace out, YouTube.